This is the Galaxy Z Fold3, the latest and most advanced foldable smartphone from Samsung yet.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What
Z Fold3 here for the best phone review.
Can we get someone over here?
It's my turn now, and I'm here to tell everyone about the greatest foldable phone. Me.
Hey, Fold.
Hey, Flip.
The best? But what do you mean? My selfie camera takes way better pictures than yours. Newsflash, I can still see your under-display camera from here.
Oh, take that back. At least I have a real cover screen. And you're so small, people say size isn't everything, but don't believe it. Why do I waste my time arguing with you? Let's see what great things Will has to say about me.
Okay, sure. There are a lot of great things, but it's not all roses.
Hey, come on.
I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's break it all down in our Galaxy Z Fold3 review. You won't find many devices that look like the Z Fold3. Using foldable screen technology, it fits a large, tablet-like display into a form factor similar to that of a normal smartphone. While it's folded, it's usable pretty much like a normal phone. But from the bottom or the side, it looks like two phones lying on top of each other, connected by a hinge and sharing an inner display. Overall, the Z Fold3 is a bit trimmed down and lighter than last year, but is far from compact. This year, Samsung has taken extra steps to make its new foldable devices even more durable. The frame and hinge are reinforced by something called armor aluminum, which is supposed to be tougher and more lightweight. And you get IP-rated water resistance now too. It's IPX8, meaning that you don't get any dust protection, but the phone can handle splashes and even being submerged in water. And on top of that, you have a new plastic layer on the inner screen to protect from scratches, and you have Gorilla Glass Victus protection on the cover screen. The cover screen is a tall and narrow 6.2-inch AMOLED with an 832 by 2268 resolution. There's a punch hole for the selfie cam, and a fast 120Hz refresh rate, new this year. The inner screen is much larger, of course. Like last year, it's a 7.6-inch foldable AMOLED with a 1768 by 2208 resolution, and it brings a variable 120Hz refresh rate too. It makes swiping and scrolling much smoother, and the refresh rate will dial down when you stop interacting with the screen, or if the content doesn't need it, in order to save energy. High frame rate gaming isn't as well supported here as on the Z Flip. You can't enable a global high refresh rate for games here, so the results can vary for each particular title. As far as quality goes, the cover display is quite good. The panel is brighter than last year, maxing out at 480 nits with a slider and 1000 nits in auto mode in bright sun. Plus, colors and brightness settings are tuned to be quite similar to those of the inner screen. But it's the inner display which makes the Z Fold3 so attractive. It's considerably brighter than last year's model, 490 nits with a slider, and 920 nits in auto mode when in bright sun. Colors are decently accurate, and there's HDR10+ support. The picture looks crisp and uniform across the two sides. And it's extra immersive because the phone hides the selfie camera under the display. This tech isn't perfect, but if you don't look too closely, it can blend right into the background. When the camera is active, the display pixels become transparent, and there's an animation too. This display isn't perfect. Of course, there is a crease where the screen folds, and it can be quite visible depending on the angle. You can feel it when swiping too. But once you start looking beyond the phone itself and focus on the content, you'll stop noticing it. This year, the Z Fold3 brings stylus support. You can use either Samsung's S Pen Pro or the new S Pen Fold made specifically for this phone. There's even support for air commands to trigger various features. Whether or not you use them, it's still a big deal that Samsung is spreading the stable features of the Galaxy Note series across the whole portfolio. Now on to audio. The Z Fold3 has a pair of stereo speakers which sit at the bottom and the top of the frame, or left and right, depending on how you're holding the device. They are impressively loud, earning a very good score on our loudness charts, and they have great clarity and frequency response too. Plus there's Dolby Atmos support.
I'm wide awake, but you're a nightmare. I can't escape, I'm seeing you.
You can wake up and unlock the Z Fold3 with the side-mounted fingerprint reader / power button. It's super fast and accurate and works whether the phone is open or closed. And you get options for 256 or 512 gigs of storage on board, but it isn't expandable. The interface of the Z Fold 3 is Samsung's One UI 3.1 based on Android 11. In many ways, it's the same as on other Samsung phones, but there are plenty of unique features here too. One classic feature you get is an edge panel, which you can store shortcuts in. And you also get support for Samsung's DeX for connecting to a PC or monitor. But there are also plenty of ways in which the interface has been tweaked to take advantage of the folding screen. Some apps are able to continue between the cover screen and the main screen, rearranging to fit within the two spaces. There's a big emphasis on multitasking here, since there's so much more space to make use of. You can customize the split into whichever orientation you want and save the pair for later. There's even support for three-way splits. The more the merrier. With the phone folded, the keyboard lies naturally on the bottom half, so you can use the Z Fold 3 like a mini laptop. It's a little too cramped for easy typing though. There's a similar feature called Flex View. Within supported apps like the media player or the gallery, folding the screen will split the app into a top and bottom half, with the bottom holding settings or navigation controls. This is also quite handy within the camera app, as it lets you place the phone on a stable surface for your shooting, and you have easy access to the controls at the bottom. And while you're in this mode, the camera can even follow you as you move around. Under the hood of the Galaxy Z Fold 3 is a top-of-the-line Snapdragon 888 chipset, which provides top-tier performance as well as 5G connectivity. Things run smoothly, as you'd expect from a flagship, but compared to other phones that are running the same chip, the Z Flip 3 falls behind on the charts, especially in graphics tests. This could be because it's more difficult to render things on that large display. The Z Fold 3 also struggles when it comes to thermal management. Under stress, the phone quickly heats up, and the CPU performance throttled down within just 5 minutes after starting our stress test. Of course, real-world use isn't as intensive as our testing, but this phone isn't built for sustained performance during long gaming sessions. The Z Fold 3 has a 4400 mAh battery capacity that's actually split into two packs, one for each half of the phone. For a device with this much display going on and a power-hungry chipset, it's hard to expect a lot of battery life. When using the inner screen, the phone earned a modest endurance rating of 75 hours in our proprietary tests. If using just the cover screen, battery life is a little bit better, with a score of 82 hours in our tests, but it's still not that great. Like Samsung's other flagships, the Z Fold 3 doesn't ship with a charger. It does support 25-watt charging though, and when we tested it out with an official 25-watt Samsung adapter, we were only able to get from 0 to 33% in half an hour. At least you also get support for wireless charging if you're into that. Now let's move on to the Z Fold 3's triple cameras. There's a main cam with OIS, a 2x telephoto camera with OIS, and an ultra-wide cam, all at 12 megapixels. During the day, shots from the main cam are quite good. The processing is more laid back than we've seen from other Samsung flagships, and colors aren't quite as exaggerated, but still pop. Detail is on point too, but some fine details and patterns don't come out as nice here as on some higher res competitors. When taking portrait shots, you can enable the cover screen as a viewfinder for your subject to see themselves in. These come out great, with better subject separation and defocused backgrounds than what we saw in last year's model. If there's plenty of light, the telephoto can take shots that are comparable in quality to those from the main cam. The colors are consistent, detail is good, and dynamic range is wide, but not stellar. Shots from the ultra-wide cam are decent. Colors are again consistent with those from the other two cameras, and you get an okay amount of detail and good dynamic range. Our biggest issue is that these are generally soft, perhaps due to the laid-back processing, but adding more sharpening probably would have introduced other issues. In low light conditions, the main camera is solid, producing shots with plenty of detail, good sharpness, and well-controlled noise. Enabling night mode fixes clip light sources, and the shadows and highlights are more balanced. There's more sharpness too. At night, the telephoto does alright. Its photos are noisier than the main cams, but you get plenty of detail, and surprisingly well-balanced exposure and light sources. With night mode on, the results are sharper, and highlights are reined in even better. The ultra-wide cam doesn't do a great job at night, but its shots are still usable despite being dark and soft with blown-out highlights. With night mode enabled, the quality is significantly better. The photos are brighter and sharper with more detail and better controlled light sources. Selfies can be taken with the 10 megapixel front-facing cam on the cover screen or the 4 megapixel one that hides under the inner display. Let's start off with the 10 megapixel selfies first. These capture plenty of detail and look sharp. The lack of autofocus isn't a big deal either, as the focus plane is quite forgiving. Selfies from the under-display camera are acceptable in quality, but not great. The light has to travel through pixels first before reaching the actual lens and sensor, so the picture is softer, and you sometimes end up with strange color fringing and optical defects. Still, the processing does a respectable job in correcting for these things, most of the time. Another option is to take selfies with the rear main camera, using the cover screen as a viewfinder. Videos can be shot with the main cam in 4K resolution at up to 60 FPS. 4K video here is flagship grade, with plenty of detail, decently wide dynamic range, and low noise. Like with the stills, colors pop, but aren't as punchy as on other Samsungs. 4K video from the telephoto at 30 FPS is flagship grade as well, but the colors are slightly off from the main cams. The ultra-wide shoots pretty good 4K footage, with consistent colors. Even though there is more softness and narrower dynamic range than the other two, this is expected for this type of cam. There is electronic stabilization available on all of the cameras, on top of the OIS on the main and the telephoto. It does a good job at smoothing out shakiness from things like walking. So that's the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold3. You get that unique foldable design that provides you with a big AMOLED screen tucked inside. There's a flagship chipset, great stereo speakers, and a solid set of cameras. Plus, since last year, there have been plenty of improvements. The phone has gotten more durable, and it's water resistant now too. The screens are brighter, and both have that fast refresh rate. There's stylus support, the hidden selfie cam is neat, and the new software features are pretty slick. Of course, there are some downsides here compared to other flagships. The design isn't as elegant with the hinge and the crease. The chipset and thermals aren't so well optimized here. Battery life is nothing special, and charging speed is pretty slow. And while the cameras are good, they're not the best, especially for this price. But at the end of the day, the Z Fold 3 is no doubt the most advanced foldable phone on the market right now, and if that speaks to you, then it's worth recommending. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe and see you on the next one.